When you are not your thoughts, overthinking often feels like deep reflection, but in reality it's a quiet form of self-distress. We sit for hours replaying the same situations, imagining conversations that never happened or worrying about futures that may never arrive. It feels like we're solving problems, yet we're only reliving them. The Stoic philosophers understood this long before psychology gave it a name. They believed that peace begins when we learn to separate ourselves from our thoughts. Epictetus once said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things." This means events themselves are neutral. What causes pain is our interpretation of those events, the stories we tell ourselves afterward. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. One person shrugs it off and continues their day. Another spends the next 20 minutes angry and frustrated. The situation was the same, but the reactions were different. The difference lies in perception. The Stoics taught that we are not our thoughts, but the observers of them. When a negative thought appears, it's like a cloud drifting across the sky. It's temporary. But the mistake most people make is chasing that cloud, trying to control or fight it. The more attention you give a thought, the more power it gains. The Stoic instead watches calmly, allowing it to pass. This practice builds inner stability. A helpful approach is to name what you feel instead of becoming it. Don't say, "I'm anxious," say, "There is anxiety." That small change in language reminds you that emotions and thoughts are experiences, not identities. They come and go, but you remain the same observer behind them. This awareness creates distance, and in that distance, peace begins to grow. When you understand that your thoughts do not define you, the mind becomes lighter. You stop judging every emotion as good or bad and start seeing them as signals, temporary waves in the ocean of your awareness. The Stoics didn't aim to suppress emotion, but to understand it. By observing instead of reacting, you give yourself the power to respond with reason rather than impulse. So the next time your mind begins to overthink, pause for a moment, take a slow breath, and remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they appear and disappear. The world outside may be uncertain, but the peace within comes from knowing that your mind is not your enemy. It's your tool, and you can learn to guide it with calm awareness. 2. Acceptance brings calm. Many of our worries and disappointments come from expecting life to always go according to our plans. We want people to understand us, situations to work in our favor, and days to unfold without difficulty. But the Stoics reminded us that the world doesn't follow our expectations, it follows its own course. Marcus Aurelius began his mornings by reminding himself that he would meet people who were impatient, ungrateful, or mistaken. He didn't do this to become negative. He did it to remain prepared. When you expect challenges, you are not surprised by them, and that calm awareness protects your peace. Acceptance is not about giving up or being passive. It's about seeing reality as it is instead of how we wish it to be. When something goes wrong, the natural reaction is to ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But a Stoic shifts that question to, "This is happening, so how can I respond wisely?" That small change transforms emotional resistance into clarity. Every time we fight against reality, we create inner conflict. We spend energy wishing things were different rather than working with what is in front of us. The Stoics believed that peace begins the moment we stop arguing with reality. Once we accept that life includes both ease and struggle, praise and criticism, success and failure, we stop being shaken by every change in circumstance. Think of acceptance as understanding the nature of the world. Just as we don't get angry at rain for falling, we can learn not to be upset when people act imperfectly or when life becomes unpredictable. The goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to prevent it from controlling our actions. When you accept what you cannot change, your energy returns to what you can: your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. Acceptance brings emotional balance. Instead of reacting with frustration or self-pity, you respond with perspective. You begin to see each situation as an opportunity to practice patience, understanding, and strength. When something unpleasant happens, you can remind yourself, of course, this is part of life. By letting go of unrealistic expectations, the mind becomes lighter. You begin to flow with life instead of resisting it. True calm is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to face them with steady awareness. The Stoic finds peace not because life is easy, but because they have learned to accept it fully. Verse 3. Awareness turns pain into wisdom. The Stoics believed that peace of mind does not come from escaping discomfort, but from understanding it. When we face emotional pain or anxiety, our first instinct is often to run from it, through distractions, constant activity, or denial. But avoidance only strengthens what we try to ignore. The Stoic way is different. It begins with awareness, calm observation of what is happening inside the mind. When a strong emotion arises, the first step is to pause. Take a slow breath and notice the space between what happened and how you respond. That small pause is where freedom lives. It reminds you that you can choose your reaction. Instead of saying, "I'm angry," you can say, "There is anger." This simple change creates distance between you and the feeling. The emotion is real, but it is not your identity. You are the one observing it. The next step is to understand the lesson behind the emotion. The Stoics viewed emotions as signals rather than enemies. Anger shows that you had certain expectations that were not met. Fear reveals something you feel attached to or uncertain about. Sadness often reminds you of what you value deeply. When you look at emotions with curiosity rather than judgment, they begin to teach you rather than control you. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Often, what troubles us most is not the event itself, but the story we create around it. Awareness helps break this pattern. By watching your thoughts clearly, you can test them. Is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is it within my control? If the answer is no, you can choose to let it go. At the end of the day, reflection turns emotion into wisdom. Ask yourself, what disturbed me today? Why did it affect me? What can I learn from it? This gentle questioning changes pain into understanding. It transforms reaction into growth. The Stoic does not aim to remove all emotion, but to guide it wisely. Life will always bring moments of discomfort, but awareness turns those moments into teachers. True calm is not found in escaping what hurts, but in seeing it clearly and responding with patience and strength. When you practice awareness, pain becomes a pathway to wisdom, and every challenge becomes a lesson in self-mastery.